Croeso, hello, welcome for the 200th time to RobRyanRed, the Wrexham podcast brought to you, you know by now surely, Red 10 People Development and Music, brought to us by Wrexham-based band Hypnotic. On today's special episode, we'll look back at the formidable home record Wrexham have after wins over Lincoln City and Exeter City. We will look ahead to the January transfer window and the two big decisions Wrexham have to make even before it opens. And myself and Nath also play a special game towards the end to celebrate our 200th episode and to celebrate, 160 years of Wrexham Football Club as well. All that and more on this show.
RobRyanRed.
So, Nath, we're recording on the Wednesday after Wrexham's win over Lincoln City, which was, other than the Bake-Off final, the scabbiest win of the evening. I'm still furious about the Bake-Off result. Wrexham's win, though, nitty gritty, not very pretty, but we got another 3 points, and this is what Wrexham do. We don't have a goal scorer, but we score goals. We concede a lot of chances, but we don't concede goals. And the underlying stat merchants won't be happy because Wrexham win again, and who would have guessed it?
Firstly, I want to say I was very surprised to even see you there. I thought Bake-Off final trumps all else, but there you were. It was very much enjoyed it. Sort of going down. It's been a while. Obviously, you've been here, there, and everywhere, as people who've been listening know. Look, the first thing when I came away from that result was I was obviously buzzing. It was a great win. Another clean sheet. I think that's 10 in 17 now. 10 clean sheets from 17 games. Mad when you think back to last season where the first few games we were shipping 5 goals a game. Crazy. Even when we went down to Wimbledon, I think that was 1-1, wasn't it? Clean sheets were very, very hard to come by for a while last season. We've got 10 from 17 this season. I think if you'd have offered me that at the start, I would have told you that you'd been way, way too optimistic, and that's coming from me. But what I thought about that game last night is it's one that won't really be remembered come the end of the season, but they are the type of wins that get you a promotion. They are so sort of awkward to the eye and sort of not memorable, not full of big moments, but they're so crucial. So while you had Saturday, which was a dominant display against the best defence in the league, which is now ourselves, but Exeter at the time you've blown the doors off Exeter. And Lincoln, I think, showed you similarly to Huddersfield that they are just very, very formidable at the level. They're very difficult to break down. And yeah, the first things that came to mind for me were Bromley at home, which was a January game. It wasn't a November game, but January when James Jones puts us ahead. It's a 2-1 win. Very, very important after an FA Cup. I think we played Coventry. It came after Coventry. So we're on that high of the FA Cup, and it was a massive game. And I also think of a game where we played Sutton last season where Elliot Lee scores in the 89th minute. It's a huge 3 points at a point where we had great momentum. So games like that where people might be thinking, I can't fully recall the ins and outs of those games. That's the point. These games are hard and you just need to win them. And we did.
And that's the real sign, I think, that this is a special football team we're watching week in, week out, because I know there's been, in so many games this season, those decisions, those split-second moments that have maybe gone our favourite times, but there's been so many that haven't as well, and we've still got through it. And this is a Wrexham team now, like you said, who just don't concede goals. I know there's obviously the start of last season's got the quirks to it of the goals we've conceded, but Wrexham have played 17 games this season in the league. We've conceded less goals in 17 games than we did in the first 4 matches of last season, which
That's
is
wild.
absolutely wild. And yeah, we won't score many goals this season, but we won't concede many either. And I thought, the formation was interesting across both games. It's sort of 3-5-1-1. I quite liked it. I think it could be a more robust system that we could use away from home. I think that's quite promising, although we have got, as we said, this run of home games coming up anyway that we're involved in now anyway. It's only Burton and Bristol Rovers we play away from home this calendar year. But, going into the new year, it's going to be interesting to see if Parky does adopt this 5-1-1. And a couple of players I think have stood out that we maybe want to get into in deeper analysis. I mean, talk about robberies, never mind Bake-Off. Lewis Brunt, where is your man of the match award?
Well, you're just gonna have to let the Bake Off result go. I'm not gonna spoil it in case anyone's still to watch it. You might have to just let that go, man. I know you're upset. I've seen you earlier today. It was still very upsetting for you then. I'm speaking to you tonight. It's still very upsetting that. It's okay. But yeah, Lewis Brunt, one of them where when it was the sponsors picking, it was easy to say, well, they want the shirt. And that's normal. That's going to be at clubs up and down the country. The same people. The Mullen went through that phase of just winning it every single week when people wanted his shirt. When the fans are voting for it, obviously, democracy rules. What are people? How did Lewis Brunt not win back to back? Did he even get man of the match against Exeter? I don't know. He should have had it both times. I'm really, really confused.
Was it Ollie Rathbone against Exeter?
But it was at Ollie Rathbone, yeah. Lewis Brunt didn't get it either time. Confused.com, basically.
Yeah, I thought he was excellent, and particularly that moment. I mean, he got all the decisions. I mean, what I love is every time Wrexham win, the opposition fans say, "You're crap, the referee was on your side." The referee was against Wrexham on Tuesday night. I thought that he booked Brunt after about 3 minutes or so for the most innocuous sort of coming together, and then didn't give any more yellows sort of for... Did he even give any more during the game? I can't remember, but there was loads of cynical foul tackles going in. There's nothing else.
Don't know if he did.
So Lewis Brunt played the entire game on a yellow card, and he was just so smart about the way he did it. There's that moment where there's a massive overlap for Lincoln City, and he sort of won the ball on the edge of his own box, and then went and won the ball on the halfway line again. He stopped as being exposed at the back. And it's such a fascinating headache now, because prior to the Stockport game, anyway, none of us would have had Lewis Brunt anywhere near, not anywhere near our starting 11, but I don't think we would have had him in our starting lineup for now. And we've seen again, and he's the latest sort of player that Parky signed, taking a little while to bed in. And now you can't really see Lewis Brunt coming out of the team anytime soon.
Well, Rich, I was saying there would have been a moment. I was sat in the cold road, in the mould road for this one, so it would have been better placed from where you are in the tech end. But there was a moment just after he'd got booked where he looked like he didn't want to dive in. He couldn't dive in because they had that similar overlap. And I thought to myself, oh no, that's like really compromised his game. But credit to him, because after that he really settled down, and it would have rocked a lot of players, that early booking, because you go, well, now what? I'm not getting massive protection out of McLean, who I think did play well actually last night. I know he got man of the match. He did play very well. I would still give it to Brunt, but I thought McLean was good at both ends, made some key decisions defensively and got forward, and it was his cross for the goal. But yeah, I think Brunt particularly really settled after. Doesn't go in, doesn't want to make a challenge. Lincoln looked lively, but seemingly had a magnet either side of the post because they just couldn't. I think they had 14 shots, 1 on target, I think, something like that. Callum Burton, busy, but not that busy, in all seriousness. But yeah, Lewis Brunt, I spoke to, I can't remember if I said this last week, but I spoke to an academy coach recently, and he'd worked with Brunt before at Villa, and he said that he felt like Brunt was better suited, more equipped for Wrexham when they're in the Championship. He's just got the skill set. He's just better than basically a lot of the other Wrexham defenders. And I think you're seeing that now in games where Wrexham will have a lot of the ball and he's allowed to come out with it at times. The term Rolls Royce gets thrown out a lot, but Parkinson in his comments after Lincoln said just a really, really accomplished performance that from Lewis Brunt. And the funny thing is, I know Tom O'Connor played poorly at Stockport, but he wasn't alone. I actually think the depth defensively is superb, because I think Dan Scarr is very good. You know, is not a bad player at all by any stretch. Tom O'Connor is not a bad. I still think Tom O'Connor is very, very, very talented, and Max is brilliant, and you know Owen O'Connell's good as well. We are spoilt for choice, and heck, Callum Burton's the second choice goalkeeper. I'm sure Arthur Okonkwo is watching these clean sheets rack up, going, "Oh my, like this isn't the sort of understudy that I need right now."
No, this is like the most confident I've been in a backup goalkeeper for maybe my entire time supporting Wrexham, really. I know we've had people who've been good as backup choices, but you know he got promoted with Plymouth to the Championship. There's actually an argument that he's a better shot stopper, like pure sort of no-nonsense goalkeeper than Arthur Okonkwo. And you know that's a ridiculous debate to maybe to have, but that is such a privileged position to be in now, that even when Okonkwo is back and fully fit, he doesn't automatically go back into the team, which is crazy to say. And so I agree with you on Brunt. I think him and Max are both made for the Championship. It's whether it's with Wrexham or not, and at the moment it's looking slightly likely
Are they
like it
locks
could
for you
be.
now? In that back three, are they locks? Are they, because every team, I think, as it goes on, as the grind of the season gets on, you do need a level of consistency. I don't think you can be chopping and changing all the time.
No, but for me, the quirk of it is I think it depends on your opposition. Because I was about to ask you who your back three are, and I think we both agree that it's Max, Lewis, and it's either Scar or O'Connell, kind of depending on what team you're playing. Because if you need a no-nonsense centre-back, you go for Scar. If you want to be playing out from the back, maybe at home, you potentially have O'Connell. I think that could be the same away from home at times, where Max has definitely come on leaps and bounds in terms of his physicality. He can hold his own against anyone in the league. Lewis Brunt is a very good ball playing centre back. I'm not too sure how he'd cope against some of the more brutish forward lines in the division. But saying that, he's done well against Exeter and Lincoln, who are two of the best. So he's certainly doing well enough for now. I think in some of those horrible Tuesday night games, maybe you do go a bit more no nonsense back there. I'm not too sure, but I think long term they both have to be.
The thing is for Parkinson is, though, that's now become the easiest decision in the world, the back three, which seems slightly perverse, but it's actually the easiest decision, because who would change? What manager would change a back three that's got a clean sheet? Back-to-back clean sheets. I know it's not the same one, but 10 clean sheets in 17. The longer you keep racking up these clean sheets, that's the easiest thing to pick. Same again. I was surprised it was an unchanged 11. I think Parky alluded to it himself. Matty James, we're going to come on to him in a second. Very surprised he had it in the tank, but fair play. A few days later, he hasn't played a lot of football this season, and we only brought him in a few weeks ago. Brilliant. A friend of ours, James, he was man of the match for him. So, and for many others that were watching as well, Matty James played really well. So to not change it, to keep Mullen on the bench, fair play to Park. He's freshened it up. He's changed it. He's shown he's not as stubborn maybe as he's been in the past. Like, he has shown a willingness to try something a bit different, to drop your best forward. And I think it's paid off big time. Well, I don't think it has. It's paid off big time for him.
The evidence is there, isn't it? And no matter how last night went, I mean, we missed some big chances in that second half. So the Palmer one, which he somehow put over the crossbar, but we got the result, and it's very easy.
Richard, sorry to interrupt you again. Can I just say quickly on Ollie Palmer? Great for him to break. We mentioned last week about the 12-game run where he hadn't scored or got an assist. He ends that against Exeter. What a ball. Assist of the season, that'll be. It won't get goal of the season because of Jack Marriott against Wickham, but it'll get assist of the season. Great ball in from Barney, great header. But we had a conversation with somebody yesterday, didn't we, and I came away from the game thinking about Ollie Palmer wearing the number 9, and this kind of acceptance that 5 goals will be fine or 6 goals will be fine. When he's missing as big chances as he did last night, that one in particular in front of the tech end, he can still do a lot better, I think. I think he's done well. He does a lot of the dirty work, but still his finishing, we're going to need him in big moments. And if he's going to be the starting centre forward in a system where it's just the one up top and it's an attacking midfielder off him, he'll have to become more clinical if he's going to continue to be that lone forward.
It's a tough one, that, because you know what you get with Ollie Palmer. I think he's already exceeded lots of people's expectation. Like I said, we spoke with someone last night who's notable in the Wrexham community. Let's say he might have used to play for the club, and he was saying sort of he doesn't agree that players should get as much praise as they do for their work rate, because that's the bare minimum you should have if you're a Wrexham player. So whenever we say, Ollie's put a shift in, and he does really cover the ground well, the person we spoke to was saying that that's what you expect of a Wrexham player. And if you're a striker, the lone striker, ultimately that's what he's in the team to do. And even more so when it's Palmer up top by himself. I think if he's in part of the front two, I personally think he's fine to be a facilitator. But when he's the lone striker, there has to be more scrutiny on his actual output as a goal scorer and as a threat. And it was, I don't know. I've not seen a replay of it, but I think he had to hit the target with the one in the second half last night. But we still won. We still found a way to do it. And again, that's why you can't really argue with the changes. I think he would have changed it if we had a game this weekend, though, Parky. But it's the fact that he knew, get these players through another sort of 70 minutes at least for some of them, and then they've got their week off. So, we've come through that, and lots of players, Saturday, play the game, Sunday, Monday, sort of recovery sessions anyway. The players would have been raring to go. So I think it was Easy to say in hindsight, the right decision from Parky. Very brave one to do because there's obviously the temptation to change it up. And even now, though, I know you want to get onto midfield, which we'll do at some point. I'm still just not sure what you do in attack because part of me really does want to say just play Paul Mullin from the start, stick with him. He'll come good. He's always come good for us. It's Paul Mullin. He is the sort of poster boy of this new era of Wrexham. Give him the chance. Give him the confidence. Confidence is so important for strikers. One goal, that's all he needs, off his backside or something, and that could like unleash him. Part of me wants to say just play Paul Mullin every second of every game, but then he comes on, still looks a little leggy, still just doesn't quite look up to speed, and it's such a dilemma. I really am torn about what to do with him at the moment, what to do with our strike force.
I think now, at this point in his sort of development this season, he needs to be in a partnership. He needs someone to do the dirty work for him. And that's not because he's shirking it or doesn't want to do it. I think you'd be flogging him a little bit, putting him as a lone striker, just having him head after defenders, because you do see the beat. I mean, look at the size of Lincoln last night. I thought it was really quite telling. You look at people like Paudy O'Connor and I didn't get the names of their other defenders, but they were gargantuan. It felt like. I mean, on set pieces they were huge, and it was notable that we did end up getting it from a cross, but a low cross where we were making them play with their feet and not their head, and obviously the guy kicks it into his own goal, gets it horribly wrong.
That
But
reminds me, actually, there was a really good, important save from Burton early on, wasn't there? Because they had that chance from the corner. And that was a huge opportunity. It was in the tech end. I was like, how has that guy got an unmarked header? And it seems to happen in slow-mo. And yeah, again, shout out to Burton because he sort of just pushed the ball far enough away. But I do think we rode our luck a lot on Tuesday
I think
night.
on the Mullin thing, when I saw the team drop, I wasn't angry or anything. That's way too extreme. But I was thinking, I a bit like you. I would like just to see a bit of persistence with Mullin. But at the end of the day, that the best thing for the team right now? It might be best for the team in the longer run, but right now, it's not. And I have to say that the Christmas do, which I thought was a little bit early when they went to Ireland and had a few scoops in Temple Bar and had a little trip in Dublin after the Stockport defeat. We've gone back there with 2 wins. So if that lifted the pressure, lifted the mood, lifted morale a little bit, job done. And these things
What you're
always look
saying
better
is
with
just
hindsight.
send them to Ireland for the week now.
So I mean,
Before
they've
we
got
play Barnsley.
we're this is out on Thursday. They're not playing at the weekend, so another little jaunt, Ryanair flight over to Ireland, couple of scoots back on Sunday, ready to go on Tuesday.
What can go wrong, eh? Midfield, like I said, Matty James, thought he was excellent in midfield again. So calm, composed, makes really key interceptions and just reads the game superbly. He really impressed me. And by having him in the holding role, you free up Dobson in a more attacking role. It's his incredible run that tees up the only goal of the game. He just had that confidence, that sort of unpredictability. I think because Dobson is a little bit gangly and a little, he always has sort of his head down when he's running. He's got that unorthodox dribbling style. The defenders don't quite know what to expect from him at times. Often he doesn't look like he's totally in control of his own body, but he sort of just glided like a gazelle through the midfield, poked the ball through with like sort of the last sinew of his body, goes out to McLean, gets the low cross in, we get the goal. And Dobson in this attacking role, I didn't know he sort of had that in him, but he looks like a proper threat. He looks like he's just got a bit about him with those driving runs.
As my mum said on the way out, the lad with the gelled slick back hair is very good. And I would concur with that. The George Dobson with the gelled hair is very good. I think now, though, it's open. I mean, we said last week, didn't we, try and get Matty James in there? Because Andy Cannon was suspended. We said, does Matty James come in? I think you've seen that he can play that deep line role as a kind of screener in front of the back line, differently to how Dobson did it. A little bit different, even slightly
He's a bit of
more
a Dave
withdrawn.
Jones, isn't he? But do you know what I mean? We only saw glimmers of Dave Jones before he just sort of became a full-time coach.
You're
But
right.
there's something about him where he's just that calm, level head, the anchor of
It's a
midfield.
bit more of the anchor, whatever cliche you want to use, the conductor, the quarterback, whatever you want. But he has such, and I think he has such good vision on the pitch, James, that like he's played at a higher level, he's played at a better level, and the game slows down for players like that. So even when I saw him running at times, I thought he looks a little bit heavy almost at moments, but actually no, he didn't need to sprint around like a headless chicken, because
He
why
just
do
reads
you?
the game so well, doesn't he? Yeah.
The game is slower for him where it isn't for others. And now I think Dobson in that more attacking role, I think it's really opened up this midfield group now, because you're looking at three options for that deeper role now, which is James, Dobson, or Evans. And then really the other two now, I know Lee's been playing further forward of late, but just take him into the mix. The other two now I think are all up for grabs, which between Dobson, Cannon, Rathbone, Lee, and who else? Am I forgetting someone else there? Or the four of them, four into
We can even
two?
play McLean there, can't you?
You play McLean. McLean's definitely going to play every week, probably at the left wing back. It seems like Revan's maybe one for next year or the back end of the season. But just say those four. Just say Cannon, Lee, Rathbone, and Dobson, and say you're playing James or Evans and the other one. They're all different in a way, which is
Yeah.
good. And they all sort of offer you something different. I would say out of those, Rathbone gives you the greatest work rate. I still get quite frustrated at some of his decision making, because some of it's absolutely superb. Some of it, maybe I'm just overly critical. Dobson, like you say, he's kind of got this weird ability to not look in control, but is very much in control and can break the lines really well. And again, he's got a good energy, good engine, but not quite as good as Rathbone. I think probably Andy Cannon might be the most sort of comfortable as a more of a box to box. I think he just
Yeah.
looks a little bit more comfortable. And Elliot Lee is the most creative of all four. I know it's not
Mm.
clicking for him right now, and he looks very frustrated. And I would look, Elliot Lee doesn't need to tell me to tell him to relax, because I feel like, if you ever tell someone to calm down, or you say like
It's
it's
the
all
last
right,
thing they want, isn't it, during an
it's the
argument?
last thing
Yeah.
they want to hear when they're already stressed out and pent up. Just say, just chill out, just calm down. Just gets the rage
Yeah.
even more.
I
So
think it's one of those as well where, similar to Mullin, it is about back to basics. Sometimes because you can almost be guilty of trying too hard if things aren't clicking for you, and you're trying things you're always looking for that killer pass, or always looking for a nice shot at
he
goal, and
just
you're just
cares, though,
trying to.
He just cares a
Yeah. Oh,
great
yeah.
deal, and not just about his own. It's not a selfish. He just cares a lot. You've seen all his quotes over the
Yeah.
years that he just wants to be at Wrexham for the rest of his career. He would be willing to be the kit man. He loves Wrexham. He loves everything that we've been able to give him, and he's given us. And you think back to scoring on that debut against Eastleigh, and what a ride it's been for him. And if this was to be it, say this was League One was all we had, then he's brilliant. He's going to go down as a two-time promotion winner. There's way more to come. I know he's under contract. Don't get it twisted. But it's just because he cares so much. I think he's just getting a little bit beaten down, a little
Yeah.
grind.
Yeah, and that's absolutely fine. I guess what the beauty of we said now is we have generally got sort of feasible alternatives to him, because in the past there's always been the argument, well, we could rest Lee, put other people in, and we've maybe not had the personnel or the formation to make it work. Now you'd say, yeah, there probably are opportunities if required to do so, but it's interesting because you lose a striker, gain a midfielder, and I suppose throwing it forward a bit, Nath, as we're going to get onto anyway. January transfer window at the time of recording is 5 weeks away from opening. Matty James and John Dardy Bodvarsson are both out of contract in January, technically. Do you extend any of them already? Like, when do you make your decision on them? Because that's got to come into consideration even when you're evaluating targets for the new year.
You've got to be making decisions very, very soon, because you need to be planning for January now, and you need to be putting out feelers with agents of players and representatives that you want now, because we're 5 weeks away, less than 5 weeks now, 5 weeks on the night we record, but less than 5 weeks till the transfer window opens, and I don't think Wrexham can wait until a deadline day. I know it's a kind of, well, players don't always become available. I do get that. I do get this kind of like jockeying, this negotiation.
Yeah.
I think we've got to. I think if we want to, and if we've got the money to do so, and it's within structures, and it's not putting us at risk in any way, and I don't think it is. I think Eric Allen's investing to spend. I think he wants to go up as much as anyone and grow the club, and that will involve spending. Now, I would say if you've got a big budget in January, put it all in one player. To give you a bake-off analogy, go for a showstopper. Go for, is that right? Get that right?
Yeah, you're
There you
learning.
go.
You're
Good.
learning.
Go for the showstopper. Don't go maybe for like 3 or 4 bodies, which I don't think you need. I just think you need one gem that will get you over the line. So if you're in the top 6 come January, and there's a striker there that's going to cost £2.5 million. I know that sounds mental, 2.5 million or 3 million quid. If we've got the money there, got big investment, it won't cause absolute chaos. Do it, and do it early. Just do it. It'll annoy everybody. I get it, but if we've got a piece, this team is so good. This team can go up. This team can finish second in League One. This team, heck, if Birmingham don't get their act together and they're stumbling all over the shop at the minute, who knows what? But I think, as I said many weeks ago to you, I think second is very much in play still. And all right, every team that we come up against says Wrexham weren't very good, were they? Wrexham are hoofball. Wrexham aren't very good. Wrexham are rubbish. Wrexham are naff. Wrexham keep winning games.
Yeah,
and that's
we might not play 4-3-3 wanky football and have a manager who wears bright white trainers, but we're very good at what we do.
You said to me,
absolutely fine.
Rich, you said to me last night at the pub, you said, imagine if we could score goals regularly.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing. That's the beauty of it. We're second in League One, and the perception is we don't have a goal scorer. We're in crisis. We don't score goals. What's happening? If we had a manager who knew what he was doing and players who could actually score goals, we'd be the best team in the bloody world, wouldn't we? Like, we're absolutely fine. And it's so hard to strike a balance of, I am actually just happy to finish mid-table, but also this feels like our best chance of getting out of League One because we've got the momentum, we've got that belief. And after, a failed promotion season or 2 or 3 years, getting that momentum again, believing, not having false dawns is so difficult to sort of get off your back. And these players are all winners. They're used to winning games. That ain't just going to dry up overnight. So this is why, strike while that iron's hot. Like, this is the chance, like you said. Go out in January, be proactive, sign someone, boil the piss, be oil money Wrexham again. Just whatever it takes. This is our opportunity. You've got to give it your all. There is no point consolidating now, settling back and being little old Wrexham saying we're just happy to be here. This is our best ever chance of getting out of League One. We just have to take it.
Right, Rich, we're going to answer the question because we've just come back out of an ad break there. But to answer your question, Matty James, extend till the summer because I think, again, I would shove all my poker chips into the middle of the table for a striker. I would go all out. That is what we need right now.
I love that we didn't answer that question.
We didn't answer it before the ad break, seemingly. Is it? No, it's not harsh. But I think Bodvarsson, I've seen enough. I wouldn't extend because I'd go out and get someone better. I'd go out and get and look, it was put to us. I thought slightly cruelly, given that someone came up to me to say, about sponsoring Mofile, and then immediately followed it up with Mofile needs to go out on loan. So I don't know. I think we might be fighting over a signed shirt that's been worn 2 or 3 times. But no, in all seriousness, look, I think Bodvarsson, thanks for the memories. Maybe I just don't think he's not going to take us over the top. I'm looking at a player that is championship caliber and is on championship wages. And the average championship wage for a player is about 20 grand a week. That is lunacy for us right now with the players we've got. But ultimately, that could be our reality in 6-7 months. That could be the reality. The reality is that you could be playing Everton or any of these Premier League teams that come down that have got players worth tens of millions, and we're thinking like, oh, who are we going to break the back? We're going to have to eventually, if we really want to do this and really want to go for it. We're a damn good team. So respectfully, that's not really respectful, is it? But Bodvarsson, I'd be saying Hwyl Fawr.
Yeah, doing Coutinho because, Achos. I think Bodvarsson is just a good League One striker, a decent League One striker. He's a good squad filler. The ultimate thing is now, he doesn't start for us. He's probably 3rd or 4th choice striker. If Jack Marriott was fit, he'd be a place lower. Look at the top 6-7 teams. Does he start for any of them? No. He's probably a mid-table League One striker. Sort of, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. That's good to have in your squad. But like you said, we're trying to go to the next level. As ruthless as it is, I'd probably not extend Bodvarsson. I don't know what's going on with Stephen Fletcher, so I can't, offer too much on that. But at the moment,
well, he was on his Instagram story chipping golf balls into a So he seemed to be at home playing golf.
Hey, you're like the Spanish press with Gareth Bale, you aren't you?
Yeah. Hey, I just think golf. I can't even remember what that thing was. What did it say?
Wales Golf Madrid.
Wales Golf Madrid.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on. But strikers were a bit short. Look, cannot get off the bench for. I don't know. Did you see last night where Fowler was meant to be coming on?
He was readied, wasn't he? Was it with Cannon?
He had a word with Parky that did not look friendly. Did not look cordial. Now, frustrating. To be frustrated, for frustration to boil over. I get it. We've seen it with Lee coming off the other day. Fowler, no doubt frustrated because he didn't come on against Exeter. Where is he in the pecking order? We're talking about Bodvarsson, and we'd get rid of Fletcher. We don't know what's going on. Fowler can't seem to get any sort of even garbage time minutes. He can't even get the final.
Sam Dolby scoring for fun in Scotland.
Sam Dolby scoring for fun in Scotland. I wouldn't recall Sam Dolby. I saw somebody message that. I wouldn't recall Sam Dolby. Jake Bickerstaff not doing much at all with Altrincham, not even getting on. I think he came on the 89th minute for them on Tuesday night. So you're down to Palmer. You're down to Mullin. Marriott, we're not expecting until maybe February.
That was initial prognosis, wasn't it? Yeah.
Splash the cash on a ready-made goal machine. They don't come cheap.
And again, Dave, as we've said previously, Parky, the reason Parky doesn't like loan signings is because he likes buying a player who's part of his project for 2 to 3 years. And that's what you're doing with a striker now, because we've said time and time again, I don't think maybe other than Marriott, we've got a championship level striker in the squad. Even right now, Marriott probably isn't quite there just because of his injuries, and he's been there previously in his career, but he's not been in recent years. So you're essentially saying that in 6 months' time we could be in the championship with no championship strikers, and that is terrifying. So you've got to spend big at some point, and to ever get to the championship, we need that difference maker in attack. So yeah, I think we're in agreement. Bodvarsson, time to go. Matty James, extend to the end of the season at the least, and then evaluate again. Yeah.
Keep. Yeah.
But let us know what you think. RobRyanRed@gmail.com, RobRyanRed.com. You can get us on the Contact Us page there.
Right, Rich, let's round out episode 200 now. We put the feelers out to who could we get? How could we make it special? In the end, I thought, what's better than just you and I?
Yeah, you didn't think that. We put lots of feelers out, and people we wanted said no.
But I'm just trying to pretend. Yeah, a lot of people just said no, actually. But eventually I came around and thought, you know what? Why did I put the feelers out? I should have just gone. You and I. This is the good stuff right here, from episode 1 to episode 200. So I thought, why don't we play a little game, a draft, if you will, for you and I to draft our, I guess, all-time Wrexham 11. Now, I'm not going to come on here and pretend that I'm going to pick Tommy Bamford up front. I'm going to try and pick players.
Wait till you see my team.
I'm going to try and pick players that are alive, or players or past players that maybe were a little bit before my time, but are still knocking around now. So let's see. I've got a lot of players I want to pick. We're going to do it in a kind of ABBA. I don't know if they do that anymore with the penalty shootout, but they should do.
No, it was trialed, but they got rid of it, didn't they? Because there was so much research that going first means you win the penalty shootout or something. I can't remember.
Okay, but interesting.
Well, anyway, so you want modern era Wrexham? Is that what you're saying?
Modern-ish, yeah. We'll allow one or two. I'm just going to make up my own rules. I've got players I want to pick, and you might pick them as well. So,
okay,
you are going to have, because I'm being gracious for episode 200, you are going to have the number 1 overall pick. You can obviously pick any position. Doesn't need to be in order of goalkeeper. And are we setting a formation? Do you want to set a formation for us? Because then people at home can do their own team.
I reckon 4-4-2.
Okay, 4-4-2.
I reckon 4-4-2. You know where you're at with that, don't you? I mean, you can vary it if you want a bit. If you want, you sort of 2 wingers in midfield rather than sort of midfielders. I'm not asked, really. Just choose 11 players. As long as you've got a goalkeeper and 10 outfield players, it's vibes, mate.
Okay,
I don't care.
So you have the number 1 overall pick. Who are you going to pick?
I mean, there's only one player, isn't there? He should have a statue. He's my captain. It's Joe Jones.
Okay. That was okay. I've got the next 2 picks. That was going to be okay. That's a blow.
But yeah, for me, it's just got to be Joey. We go on every week. I think about how
what a killer.
He transcends Wrexham. He is the football club. He's achieved so much in his career. He's had multiple spells at the club. We all love Joey. And yeah, for me, he He can play it wherever he wants. He's got the captain's armband. He is my team. I don't care who the other 10 are. I've got Joey Jones, mate.
Yeah, what an absolute body blow that is.
You
I'm gonna
expected
go.
me to choose like Louis Malt or something, weren't you? And you were going
No,
to take who you wanted to do.
who did I think
Jerry
you were going to
McDonough.
pick? Yeah, Jerry McDonough. Yeah, Tyler Reed or something like that. I'm gonna go with my first overall pick, but the second overall pick, I'm gonna take Paul Mullin. Let's not overthink this. Paul Mullin, 100 plus goals. Very very recent, I get, but of kind of my era, there aren't going to be many better strikers that I could pick. So I'm going to pick Paul Mullin. That's one of my striker spots sewn up. And for my second pick, the third overall pick, I need a bit of grit and determination in there now, because you've gone for Joey. I'm gonna go Brian Carey actually at centre half.
Okay.
Big Bry. Think he's just gonna give me a great level of physicality. He's not Joey, but I'll take Paul Mullin up top and Brian Carey.
Okay. I need goals. Joey Jones is superb. I can't just have Joey Jones versus your bunch. Up front, got to be Gary Bennett. I know he's maybe a little before our time of going every single week because he's more of a 90s hero, and myself and Nath, you only have to look at the video on YouTube. We're not that old yet, but Gary Bennett, again, another player who sort of transcended Wrexham growing up. Like, everyone just knew who Gary Bennett was. Like, he's very famous in the lower leagues. Obviously scored some very important goals, scored the 93 Welsh Cup final, goals that got us promoted as well back then. So, yeah, for me, Gary Bennett up top.
Great
I
pick.
do appreciate Paul Mullin. I think a Scouser in the strike force just works for Wrexham. Now, where do I go? Because I not only want my players, but I want players that you will have got. So I'm going to go for probably the player who made me fall in love with Wrexham as a kid. Because I think it's very easy growing up in North Wales to get sort of sucked into the Premier League world, isn't it? And, that is natural.
Don't say it.
But Wrexham had a player.
Don't say it.
Called Carlos Edwards, who was just so cool, so good at football.
Okay.
Yeah, Carlos Edwards for me.
That's a blow. That's a blow because I probably would have gone for him, but he wasn't the next pick that I would have taken. That's okay. So you've so far got Joey Jones, who I desperately wanted. He would have been my first pick. Gary Bennett's a very good pick. And Carlos Edwards. And I've got
I'm
Paul
having
Mullin.
to type these down, by the way. If people are watching on YouTube, I'm not being rude. I'm trying to make my notes here so I can actually see who's going
I've
there.
had Paul Mullin and Brian Carey. I'm going to take Carl Connolly, play him at left wing, left mid. Goes without saying, King Carl, I mean, incredible player. When I look back, I think if I could go back and watch one player home and away regularly and just really root for, would probably be Carl Connolly. Just the wizardry with how he plays. I always find myself watching clips back, and when you speak to people like Brian Flynn and players that we've been fortunate to have former players on, and they all speak so highly of obviously Joey, but also people like Carl Connolly, Gary Bennett. So you went for Gary Bennett. I've got to get Carl Connolly. So that gives me my left winger, my striker. I've got some right characters in there as well. So it's a heated dressing room so far. Brian Carey
sounds like your team is off to Ireland every sort of week, doesn't it? For these pretty much piss ups.
These are probably have to Aberystwyth though. Save the money.
Yeah, that's true.
So who am I going to go with now? So I've gone for Carl Connolly. I'm going to go for a player that continued to play on after dislocating his shoulder, dislocating his collarbone in a game. I'm going to go for central midfield. I'm going to go for Dean Keats. Dean Keats, Paul Mullin, Brian Carey, and Carl Connolly. The absolute grit and determination in that team is going to be... I mean, Joey will give it a good go, but I've got some warriors on my squad so far.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, that's tough to beat because I've got so many names here. It's just trying to, like I said, I don't want you to be taking them all. The problem for me is at the moment, like I said, I've got Joey Jones, Carlos Edwards, Gary Bennett. I've not got a midfielder there. I've got to go Darren Ferguson. Centre mid for me.
Big pick. Again,
another player who is just part of that sort of first Wrexham team that I fell in love with, and someone who was just so reliable and offered so much to us. He's just... I loved him. Absolutely loved him. And I would have loved him to become player manager in those final few years. I do think it would have been differently. We always talk about how the history of the football club could change. If Darren Ferguson was player manager, you can just imagine his dad, Sir Alex, would have sent us loads of good players on loan. just to be like, I
Imagine.
can't have my son failing at Wrexham, basically. So yeah, I've gone Darren Ferguson. He's a very good player as well. Anyone who watched him then will know all about that. And now I'm gonna go. So I'm being a little cheeky here because I know Joey played left back predominantly, but I want him at centre half.
That's fine. That's fine.
And then, actually, no. Darren Ferguson is being partnered in midfield. I'm having Carlos Edwards on one wing. I'm having Mickey Thomas on the other.
So your midfield's basically so far Carlos and Mickey on the wings.
Darren in the middle.
Ferguson.
Yeah.
Mickey, I mean, the magic little man.
And I love him. I absolutely love him because, again,
great
one
vibes
thing
in your dressing room. Great vibes in your dressing room here.
But another thing, and this isn't trying to sort of blow our own trumpets too much, but it's going to be to a degree. The absolute surreal thing here is growing up, Mickey Thomas was just so famous, like the most famous Wrexham person I can imagine. He scored probably the most famous goal in our history, even though it's not the winner, sorry, to Steve Watkin. He's played for United, he's played for Chelsea, he's played for Wales. And now he's our mate. Like, we go to watch United, and he comes to us and asks how we're doing, asks us what we think the score's going to be.
Mad.
And that is just mind-blowing as well. And he's such a nice guy. His autobiography is absolutely brilliant. The stories he's got to tell, being stabbed in the bum with a screwdriver, escaping from prison to go to the pub and coming back at the end of the night, sleeping in Stamford Bridge. Him and Joey, they've got to be in the same team together. Yeah, for me, Mickey Thomas, I absolutely love him.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good pick. I mean, it's great vibes. So I'm going to go for one of my favourite players that used to drive to the ground in a Mini Cooper despite being about 7'5". I've got to go for Big Den. I've got to go for Dennis Lawrence. Brian Carey, Dennis Lawrence. Absolutely. When I was a mascot in 05, loved Dennis Lawrence. Just grew up idolising him. So I'm going to go with him because that centre-back partnership now is just formidable, really. And look, it'll be a little bit more reserved, a little bit quieter, but I've got some great characters in there already. I've got Paul Mullen, I've got Carl Connolly, I've got Dean Keats, I've got enough sort of warrior. I mean, I've got Brian Carey there, Big Bry. So I'm happy with that as a centre-back partnership. I've got a great forward up front. There is obviously my all-time favourite player that I'm going to leave on the board because you're not going to pick him, so I think I'm all right for now. I am going to go for a keeper. I am going to go for a keeper because I'm going to get accused of recency bias, aren't I? But we've had some bad keepers as well. We've had a lot of. We've had a lot of. No, when I'm thinking that we've had a lot of bad keepers though. And I don't want to throw shit. I don't need
anniversary season. I think we had 4, didn't we? Dan Backerman was good, but we had John Flatt, Luke Coddington. Who else did we have that
Belford,
season?
Have we had him? Not in that.
Cameron, he was the season after. Yeah.
Andy Coughlin we've had over the years, and no offense to these guys, but they shouldn't even be mentioned. We shouldn't have even brought them up on this debate. There is an obvious name that I could pick, or there is a more recent pick. And you know what? To rock the boat, I'm going to go with the more recent pick. I'm going to pick Okonkwo in goal, just for his ceiling, his potential, his talent. Yes, he's not the finished article, and I know the goalkeeper you're going to pick, and maybe the comments will roast me for not picking that goalkeeper. But look, I've got Dennis Lawrence, Brian Carey in front, a wall basically, and I do think Okonkwo is a good shot stopper. His distribution's not the best, but look, we've got wizardry. I've got wizardry in Carl Connolly. You don't need to distribute very far. Just roll it out to him and we'll get on. So I'm going to pick, Dennis Lawrence and Arthur Okonkwo.
What I love about you, Nath, is you've picked goalkeeper. So I can leave that blank now. I can do that on my last pick.
Yeah,
there's no jeopardy.
Pick, yeah.
So outfield, take your pick. And there's a lot of names here. And again, same as you, I don't want to just get players who are sort of just too old, because I'm going to pick one now who obviously was before my time. Gareth Davis, centre-back, because he arguably is, the best centre-back we've ever had. So that is why he's going in. But for me, again, growing up, a player who I absolutely loved, and I think, I find it a real shame that he never went on to achieve more in his career, Curtis Obeng. I just loved watching him at right back. Yeah. He was an absolute joy. He was so good. And I know that when you talk about the best ever 11, it's very easy to say, well, the team that played in the Championship, the equivalent of the Championship in Division 2, or even now the squad. How many Wrexham teams have been second in League One. The players now must be better to a degree. But Kurt Zobeng in the National League days, he was just a wizard. He was so good at what he did. He was like a modern day fullback back then, though. He had the delivery into the box. He posed a threat. He got back. He tracked back. He was so quick. Yeah, Curtis Obeng for me is another player. So I'm having him and Gareth Davis, please.
I mean, Obeng would have been one of my picks. So I still need a left back, a right back, a right midfielder, a striker, and another midfielder. So we've got Dean Keats in there. We've got Carl Connolly.
It's going to be Luke Young, isn't it? We all know how this ends.
I feel like I was going to leave that to the very end. It's not, unfortunately, so it's not going to be Luke Young. It should be, shouldn't it? Because I'm doing him a disservice there. But you know what? Screw it. I'll pick my all-time favourite Wrexham player to go with Mullen in attack, Juan Ugarte. I mean, vibes in that front three. It's probably not. It probably doesn't work in reality because there's no big man. It probably should need more of a big man to go with Mullen, but it's just pure vibes at this point. Favorite Wrexham player. I can't have my all-time team without my favorite player in there. I just have such great memories of him. And he'd score in bunches. Okay, he wouldn't necessarily score every single game, but you'd look up and he scored a hat trick. You'd look up and he scored five at Hartlepool, and there were. Look, Andy Morell's probably hard done by there because again he's another a bit like that Mickey Thomas, as you said, where you just grew up watching him in the stands and the terraces, and now he's posting on Instagram that he's listening to our podcast for research. What the hell can Andy what the hell can Andy Morell learn off us? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Yeah. I don't know why, but he does. He supports, and that's mad to me. Blows my mind when stuff like that happens. So, unfortunately, no, I'm not picking Andy Morell. I'm going to pick Juan Ugarte. And then, I probably need a... You know what? Just because we've got a lot of Scouse in this team, we've got pure sort of Scouse energy, I'll pick... Just because I watched him a lot, and I was going to go for an older pick, but I'll go for Neil Ashton at left back.
Okay, yeah.
So Neil Ashton and Big Bry on the left side, and then Dennis Lawrence and the gap on the right side.
So yeah, same as you, really. I wanted to kind of go Neil Ashton because I loved him. He was so reliable. But I'm just going with Phil Hardy.
Yeah, well, that's the pick I probably should have made. Yeah, all right, yeah, shut up. Yeah.
But yeah, fair enough. I mean, Alan Kennedy's another one. I know he only had a season with us. 89-90, helped us avoid relegation. I think to lots of fans, he'll be right up there. And in terms of CV, Alan Kennedy's going to be arguably one of the best who ever played for Wrexham. So for me, I've got both centre backs, both full backs, both my wingers. I need a centre mid, a striker, and a goalkeeper.
Oof.
And I'm in the same position as you in terms of striker, because I know that I should say Arvin Griffiths or Tommy Bamford. I know that they're the answer. But, and it's a big but, I've joked about it. They're just not Louis Moult, mate. They're just not Louis Moult.
We're going to get absolutely cooked by some of these people in the comments.
See, this is what I'm trying to... great. Like I said, I know that the answer is Arvon or Tommy Bamford. I know that. It's the Bamford suite. Arvin Griffiths is,
but we've got to kind of pick from what we saw, what we've seen. You know what I mean? To a degree. Yeah,
for me, that anniversary team, that season, the only thing going for it was the fact that we had a bloody good set of kits. And Louis Moult was just the shining star who dragged us out game after game after game. And he was scoring all types of goals. He scored that free kick away at Forest Green. There was the North Ferriby match where he still scored some stunners. Halifax away, which we went to. The first game you and me ever went to, Halifax away. Louis Moult.
God, yeah.
Louis Moult scored 2. One of them was a superb header. And yeah, I just loved him. Why Louis Moult makes a team for me is because I was working for the media team North Ferriby Day when we lose at Wembley. And I've interviewed hundreds of players in my journalism career. Louis Moult was in tears, crying his eyes out, doing the interview post-match because it hurt him so much that he hadn't been able to deliver what he wanted to the Wrexham fans that day. He felt he'd scored twice. He'd done his job. He'd done what he was on the pitch to do. He scored 2 goals at Wembley and he still lost to North Ferriby United. But he cared so much. And when I look at a Wrexham team, I want players who care as much as I do and play like I wish I could play. And Louis Moult was one of them. And Yeah, he just holds such a special place in my own experience of following Wrexham. So for me, Louis Malt's in there. And I know he's not the right answer, but for me, he is. And that's why he's in my all-time 11.
Therefore, he's the right answer, then, mate. No issue whatsoever. So, what am I missing now?
Also, because I'm not sure Matthias Pogba, I'm not sure what the legal situation around him is at the moment.
Yes,
but
I was thinking. I actually did think for a second. I was like, oh, you might just say Pogba for a joke, and we'd have to kind of somehow figure out whether I need to edit that out or not. But no, Louis Malt, very popular pick. We've had him on the podcast. Very, very nice guy. So I need now a right back, a right mid, and a centre mid. All right, I'm 3 positions away. I think. Yeah, so I'm 3 positions away. So I've got Dean Keats in there. I mean, look, you've also got to understand that we're of an age where we've watched basically a lot of non-league football. And one of the things that Mickey Thomas gets into us about is saying that these players are great and these players are great, when ultimately they've done very, very little before the recent seasons. So who am I going to go for then? I'm just trying to think if I want a bit of creativity or do I just go with Luke Young? Now, you know what? Because it was such a good partnership, it's very industrious, but I'm going to hope that my creativity comes out wide. So I would be a very attritional team to watch. I'm going to put Jay Harris in there. I've basically just gone for a Scouts teammate at this point. I'm going to put Jay Harris in there because at this point, I just want to bully teams. My team is just going to bully the life out of yours. Yours has got players I like in it, but maybe Joey just knocks all of my lads out. I don't know. Be a good fight to see. But I'm going to go for Dean Keats and Jay Harris in the midfield. And actually, I do need a bit of creativity. And while this pick is a maverick pick, he scored one of the best goals I've ever seen in all the time I've watched football at any level. So I'm going to go Dom Vose as a kind of maverick right wing pick.
I was expecting like Elliot Lee maybe, but Dom Vose right wing.
No, just only because
my team's won, mate. My team's won.
That is a mad pick. Now I've said it out loud, but I've got to stick with it now. But I just think on his day, I have to say, and the day wasn't very often. I get that.
The day was Gateshead at home once when they had 10 men, but people forget about that.
But he had magic in his boots, though. Let's just be Louis. It's a crying shame how his career fell apart. Basically, let's just call it what it is. After Wrexham, it seemed like it all disintegrated. It didn't work out.
That is the shame, isn't it? Like we said, there is a world where you maybe had Louis Malt and Dom Vose, and they could have coexisted in the same Wrexham team together. And that Wrexham team could have fulfilled its potential. And people they're not in the squad, but honourable mentions people like Manny Smith, who they deserve so much better. And I'm not going to choose them in goal, but Rob Lainton, in my actual time watching Wrexham, is probably the actual best goalkeeper I've seen.
You know, I was thinking at one point to put we're getting on to honourable mention. I could have put Ben Tozer in for the long throw, and what that gave was an 2-time promotion winner. Hey, Luke Young maybe should have been in there. But I'm going to go with Dom Vose. That completes my midfield. Carl Connolly, Dean Keats, Jay Harris, Dom Vose. I've got Trickery out wide. I've got Magicians out wide, although one is far more reliable than the other. So that just leaves for me a right back. So it's over to you. You just got to fill your team out now, probably.
So yeah, centre mid. It's a tough one because there is probably an argument to say someone like Elliot Lee. Look at what he's actually doing for Wrexham, playing week in, week out, National League, League Two, League One. It's whether if I'm going for a balanced team or not. It's either Elliot Lee or Gareth Owen for me, centre midfield.
Two very, very different picks.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Gareth Owen just because the appearances he's made, just how reliable and versatile he was for the team. And he's from that era that always feels like it's remembered in such kind of glowing terms, even though we didn't always succeed and achieve maybe what we could have done. So yeah, I'm going Gareth Owen, centre mid, and then goal. Wow. So again, it should Dai Davis, what he's actually achieved in his career. Of course, he's got to be up there. Rob Lainton, I absolutely love. Marriott, I think for many is the goalkeeper. But, and I can't believe I'm saying this, it's Super Ben Foster in goal.
Oh,
it has to be, because that is my favourite ever Wrexham moment, ever. And without Ben Foster, there is no promotion to where we are today. There is no LDV vans. Arguably the two greatest days of being a Wrexham fan are both got Ben Foster in them. So for me, it's Super Ben Foster in goal.
What a pick.
That's my team.
I'll be honest. I was thinking you were going to go with Marriott, but I love that pick. Ben Foster delivered the moment, which was that penalty save.
Because you do get last minute winners every single week. Check your score apps. Check Gillette Soccer Saturday, whatever. There's last minute goals and winners every single week. I know that's amazing. How many times are there last minute penalty saves that win you a league title? Essentially, when has that ever happened? I can't remember any others really. It's Ben Foster. Wow, like I get goosebumps just talking about that moment. It was otherworldly.
Well, look, I'm going to round my team up with a right back, which is not a glamorous pick in any way. People will be saying, why on earth has this person been picked? But I need somebody that is going to be available every single week. And if any of my other lads get injured, will play in any of these other positions. And I feel like he played every single position except goal. And maybe he could have put the gloves on if we were stuck. So I'm going to go to round out my team. I'm going to pick Mark Carrington, Mr. Available.
Cara. Yeah.
Mr. Available, scored his goal at Stoke. Just unbelievable memory. Although
I did say the anniversary season had nothing. It was Louis Malt, Cara's goal at Stoke, and the kits.
Yeah,
that's the three things I had going for it, I suppose.
Yeah, so of your team, we'll run through the teams of your team. Run me through your team because there's a few in there that I wanted.
Okay, so my team, and like I said, this will probably be a separate YouTube video as well. And if you still listen to the actual podcast, thank you. We're up to an hour now. Let us know who your favourite team is. RobRyanRed@gmail.com, RobRyanRed.com, and comment on Spotify perhaps in the comments below. Rich or Nath on that. Might even do a poll on the socials as well. So my team, in goal, Ben Foster. Centre backs, Gareth Davis and Joey Jones, the captain. Curtis Obeng and Phil Hardy at fullback. Darren Ferguson and Gareth Owen in centre mid. On the wings, Carlos Edwards and Mickey Thomas. Up top, it's Gary Bennett and Louis Moll.
So I had in goal Arthur Okonkwo, back four of Neil Ashton, Brian Carey, Dennis Lawrence, Mark Carrington. Midfield of Carl Connolly, Dean Keats, Jay Harris, and Dom Vose. And up top, Paul Mullin and Juan Ugarte.
Okay.
So there you go. That's round us out. There'll be a graphic on socials. As I say, I'll try and do a poll if I can figure it out on Spotify. Let us know which team would win. If those teams faced off, who would win? Who had the better team?
And let us know as well in the comments maybe who is the one player you can't believe we didn't pick. Like we said, I think we went through some honourable mentions of players that we do understand probably should be there or thereabouts, but I didn't want it just to be full of players I've never watched in my lifetime. Some of them I think are very valid. Others, I know. We know it should be Arvon Griffiths and Tommy Bamford up front. We do know that before you answer. But like I said, for our own personal reasons, Ugarte and Malt have to be in there. Yeah. Thank you so much. 200 episodes of Rob Ryan Red. We can't believe you're still listening, especially to this episode because it's really dragged on. But we really appreciate everything and all your support. And as Nate said, yeah, we would have liked to have a special guest, but we are so appreciative of you, wherever you are, taking time out every single week, not just to listen, but to get in touch. I know we say it a lot, but we do read every email, every tweet, everything you send in. We do read. This is a hobby for us, and we try and get back to you as much as we can. We really appreciate it. We appreciate Red 10 People Development because without them, the podcast would have stopped years ago. Wrexham-based band Hypnotic, thank you for the stings, making the podcast more fun. Thank you for that. I'm sure if people have requests for songs they want, you can do that as well. Nath, yeah, 200, and we're still here.
Yeah, mad. We've said it before, probably when we get to 100, that, we had an agreement that we would do 3 episodes, and if nobody listened, then we wouldn't keep doing it. And, I won't drag on to anything you said. You said it perfectly, Rich. We're just very, very appreciative of all the people that come up to us and reach out to us and listen from the UK and Europe and the US and all over the place. And the podcast has given us unbelievable opportunities to not only go to games home and away as we were anyway, but to go to Vancouver. I went to North Carolina, LA. We're hoping to go out on the next tour as well if we can, and that is just a real blessing. Yeah, 200, and there'll be some great things to come in the new year, and they rack up quick, Rich. Soon it'll be 300 and 400, and I don't know. Maybe if people don't tune out after this draft, we'll still be going.
Yeah. So thank you once again for listening wherever you are in the world. As always, please do leave a like, subscribe, share it, a review. That is the best way to give back to the pod. Take care, and we'll see you again next week.
Wrexham AFC podcast with Nathan Salt and Rich Bay.